The second Bernice Summerfield audio drama is Beyond the Sun, adapted by the book's own author, Matt Jones. It was the only book he wrote for the range. It was directed by Gary Russell, his first directing job for Big Finish, with cover art by Mike Solowski. The reason this book was adapted, while being the only adaptation not done by Jacqueline Rayner, was because Matt Jones heard about this somehow and approached Big Finish and asked to do it, which is interesting. I am really fascinated at the idea of him only writing one book, then asking to adapt it for audio, then not doing any more books, and not writing any more audios. It's fascinating! Beyond the Sun starts with Bernice teaching two students on a dig when she's approached by her ex-husband Jason Kane, who would go on to be a recurring character throughout the series. Jason is played by Stephen Fuel, who was recommended to the creators of the show by Lisa Bowerman. He was apparently a big fan of the Bernice Summerfield audios and is quoted as saying that he read all of the New Adventure audios when they were at Virgin. So him agreeing to do this on a when-needed basis was definitely easy. Bernice and Jason start with a fight that really gets their relationship dynamic right out from the beginning. They definitely still care about each other, as we see. They just don't work 100% well together, but they're also clearly used to this dynamic. I will say, I am surprised that we start with them divorced and never get to see them in a before state. Yes, they never really leave their relationship, but I'm surprised that this is how they are introduced. Don't get me wrong, the dynamic is nice, and they make it work extremely well. So if I had to guess, this is a result of her starting in the books with the Doctor as part of the New Adventures series. But I will also admit I have not read those books, so I can't say with 100% certainty, but it does make sense. Jason has gotten an artifact which he believes will lead to a weapon with power beyond the sun.
He said it! He said it!
And he's asking for Bernice's help in confirming this and also keeping the object safe. Bernice looks at it and says, "It looks like a crystal, like a lot of others." They have a fun dynamic. And unfortunately, it's around here that part of the adaptational problems with this story show up by having scenes that just fade out, and then we fade in again. But it's always at odd points, and you just hear about some things happening in between those. A lot happens in between those audios. Like, say for instance, Jason disappearing and getting kidnapped. This type of thing can work well in some books. I don't know if it was part of the original book. What I can say is, I don't think it works well here. This isn't a massive problem here, but when it does happen, it stands out a lot. After a few more of those weird scenes, we cut to Bernice taking her students to another planet to look for Jason. I really wasn't kidding when I said that there's a lot in those missing scenes. And this story is actually off to a better start than Oh No It Isn't, because there's just two students here. So you get a better chance to learn about them. For instance, during this half of the story, Emile, one of the students, admits he just needed to go to a class and signed up for the first class alphabetically, which turned out to be archaeology, which is honestly a great character beat. That makes this a really fun character. On the planet they go to, they find a very different alien society. The book, when I was reading this, called it an anarchy society, but I'll admit to some ignorance about actual anarchy. All I know is this society feels different than other societies I've heard in sci-fi, which is nice. It's nice to find an alien society that is socially different to things we have on Earth, at least that I'm aware of. In most sci-fi, the aliens are meant to represent somewhere on Earth with one viewpoint, which works really well. A lot of sci-fi exists to talk about humanity in an abstract way, but it is nice to have something that I am not familiar with, and even though it's not a good society, it is interesting, which is all you need for fiction. These are people whose main worldview is that they own themselves and have responsibility for themselves. And their only property is themselves. Their only freedom is themselves. Anything beyond that doesn't matter. It's not actually completely framed as being selfish. It's a way of saying, I will only have myself, so I'm going to take care of myself, and other people have themselves and take care of themselves. Like I said, the society is interesting for its difference. An example of this is one of the aliens they meet named Scott. When he enters a relationship with Tamiko, the other student that Bernice has, and he finds her view of relying on him in a relationship type way to be more pressure than people should have to deal with, and that these people are weird. Whereas for him, it was just, I have attraction, so I will sleep with her. Exemplified by a bit where he's going, I'm tired, might as well sleep right where I am. Which I don't know if it is a pickup line and he's just rude, or if that is the society. We don't really delve too deep on too many other people to know for certain, but it is, yeah. I will say, this isn't a society I would want, but it does, like I said, it does feel different from other societies I have seen in sci-fi, which does make it interesting to me. Like I said in the last Bernice audio, all of these novel adaptations had Doctor Who actor guest stars, and this ones are Annika Wills, who plays second Doctor companion Polly Wright, who plays a doctor with knowledge that can help Bernice. Not the doctor, just a doctor on the planet. And the other Doctor Who actor, yes, there are two here, is Sophie Aldred, who played 7th Doctor companion Ace. Here she plays a woman Jason dated and is our villain. Both of them are great in this, but Sophie seems to really relish getting to play the villain, and she is great here. Both of them are great in this, but Sophie seems to really relish getting to play the villain, and she is great at it. Here her motives are she's working with a group that is trying to change the society in vaguely undefined ways. Speaking of moving the society, there's an interesting plot in the second half of the story where you find out that lots of people in the society have been turning in Bernice and her students to the people they consider the enemy in order to keep them from changing society and get them out. Which really stands out to me in the year of our Lord 2025. Just wanting to keep your society stagnant by turning in anyone who deviates to people whom you call your enemy. The way the story ends, though, does point towards a keeping the society the same, potentially. Bernice is able to figure out that the computer everyone was using to translate the inscriptions that told them this crystal will power an object that will power something beyond the sun, she actually finds that it's something that will power the sun beyond its natural life. So it's going to keep the society going as is for a long time. That's another way to do it, I guess. I don't think change should be viewed as a bad thing, but I guess that works. Anyway, this story, especially compared to Oh No It Isn't, is much more traditional, which is greatly to its benefit. I did really enjoy returning to this one. Like I said, it shows an interesting society and builds out a world that feels more fleshed out and leaves enough strands that you wish you could learn more. Jason Kane is introduced, and he is really fun. And the story is more explicitly about archaeology, which is great. Bernice should have a minimum quota of archaeology stories. Bernice and Jason start with a fight that really gets their right... Bernice and Jason... Stupid light. Recording at 5 p.m. Smart idea.